A day is approximately the period during which the Earth completes one rotation around its axis, which takes around 24 hours. A solar day is the length of time which elapses between the sun reaching its highest point in the sky 2 consecutive times. Days on other planets are defined similarly and vary in length due to differing rotation periods, that of Mars being slightly longer and sometimes called a sol. The unit of measurement day, symbol D, is defined as 86,400 SI seconds. The second is designated the SI base unit of time. Previously, it was defined in terms of the orbital motion of the Earth in the year 1900, but since 1967 the second, and so the day are, defined by atomic electron transition. A civil day is usually 24 hours, plus or minus a possible leap second, in Coordinated Universal Time, UTC, and occasionally plus or minus an hour in those locations that change from or to daylight saving time. Day can be defined as each of the 24-hour periods, reckoned from one midnight to the next, into which a week, month, or year is divided, and corresponding to a rotation of the Earth on its axis. However, its use depends on its context. For example, when people say day and night, day will have a different meaning: the interval of light between two successive nights, the time between sunrise and sunset, the time of light between one night and the next. For clarity when meaning day in that sense, the word daytime may be used instead, though context and phrasing often makes the meaning clear. The word day may also refer to a day of the week or to a calendar date, as in answer to the question, on which day? The biologically determined, living patterns, circadian rhythms of humans and many other species relate to Earth's solar day and the day-night cycle. Apparent and mean solar day. Several definitions of this universal, human concept are used according to context, need and convenience. Besides the day of 24 hours, 86,400 seconds, the word day is used for several different spans of time, based on the rotation of the Earth around its axis. An important one is the solar day, defined as the time it takes for the sun to return to its culmination point, its highest point in the sky. Because celestial orbits are not perfectly circular, and thus objects travel at different speeds at various positions in their orbit, a solar day is not the same length of time throughout the orbital year. Because the Earth moves along an eccentric orbit around the sun, while the Earth spins on an inclined axis, this period can be up to 7.9 seconds more than, or less than, 24 hours. In recent decades, the average length of a solar day on Earth has been about 86,400.002 seconds, 24.0000006 hours, and there are currently about 365.2421999 solar days in one mean tropical year. Ancient custom has a new date. Start at either the rising or setting of the sun on the local horizon, Italian reckoning, for example, being 24 hours from sunset, Old Style. The exact moment of, and the interval between, two sunrises or sunsets depends on the geographical position, longitude as well as latitude, and the time of year, as indicated by ancient hemispherical sundials. A more constant day can be defined by the sun passing through the local meridian, which happens at local noon, upper culmination, or midnight, lower culmination. The exact moment is dependent on the geographical longitude, and to a lesser extent on the time of the year. The length of such a day is nearly constant, 24 hours plus or minus 30 seconds. This is the time as indicated by modern sundials. A further improvement defines a fictitious mean sun that moves with constant speed along the celestial equator. The speed is the same as the average speed of the real sun, but this removes the variation over a year as the Earth moves along its orbit around the sun due to both its velocity and its axial tilt. Stellar day. Main article: Earth's rotation. Stellar day, a day, understood as the span of time it takes for the Earth to make one entire rotation with respect to the celestial background or a distant star, assumed to be fixed, is called a stellar day. This period of rotation is about 4 minutes less than 24 hours, 23 hours 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds, and there are about 366.2422 stellar days in one mean tropical year, one stellar day more than the number of solar days. Other planets and moons have stellar and solar days of different lengths from Earth's. Besides a stellar day on Earth, other bodies in the solar system have daytimes, the durations of these being daytime, nighttime. A day, in the sense of daytime, that is distinguished from nighttime, is commonly defined as the period during which sunlight directly reaches the ground, assuming that there are no local obstacles. The length of daytime averages slightly more than half of the 24-hour day. Two effects make daytime on average longer than nights. The sun is not a point, but has an apparent size of about 32 minutes of arc. Additionally, the atmosphere refracts sunlight in such a way that some of it reaches the ground even when the sun is below the horizon by about 34 minutes of arc. So the first light reaches the ground when the center of the sun is still below the horizon by about 50 minutes of arc. Thus, daytime is on average around 7 minutes longer than 12 hours. Midnight is the transition time from one day to the next, the moment when the date changes on the local official clock time for any particular jurisdiction. By clock time, midnight is the opposite of noon, differing from it by 12 hours. Solar midnight, or dark night, is the time opposite to solar noon, when the sun is closest to the nadir and the night is equidistant from dusk and dawn. Due to the advent of time zones, which regularize time across a range of meridians and daylight saving time, solar midnight rarely coincides with 12 midnight on the clock. Solar midnight depends on longitude and time of the year rather than on time zone. In ancient Roman timekeeping, midnight was halfway between sunset and sunrise, varying according to the seasons. In some Slavic languages, midnight has an additional geographic association with north, as noon does with south. Modern Polish, Belarusian, Ukrainian, and Serbian languages preserve this association with their words for midnight or half-night also meaning north. Our 24-hour day comes from the ancient Egyptians who divided daytime into 10 hours. They measured with devices such as shadow clocks and added a twilight hour at the beginning and another one at the end of the daytime, says Lam. Nighttime was divided in 12 hours based on the observations of stars.